Get ready for hot takes and insight from local industry experts in real estate, business, and lifestyle. He used to play ball with the Padres. He played hockey for the Lobos. Now they're crushing it in the real estate game. Together, they'll showcase the best of the Duke City. This is All About You, ABQ.
Hey, let's do it live.
We are live right now. First show live.
The goal of the show is to highlight the best of our city's industry experts in real estate, culture, lifestyle, so that you walk away with some value, feeling inspired. Now, the way we like to do that is to answer the questions you may have or interview the guests that you'd like to see. So we invite you to join the conversation. You can reach out using the hashtag above or join our email list to get some timely tips about our community real estate market. Hey, I'm Skip Adams, owner-broker of Sold by Skip Real Estate Brokerage here in Albuquerque.
Grant Harvey, Vision Mortgage, home loan lender.
Now, you probably remember Grant from many notorious wanted posters, but he's also the head coach of the Lobo hockey team and absolutely crushing it in the mortgage game.
You've seen Skip Adams on HGTV's House Hunters, and he's part of the top 2% producing real estate agents in the city.
Thank you very much for that warm introduction. I just feel lighter right now. I just feel like we're in a better space now. Well, I feel like the monkey has been taken off my back, and now we're going live. We can talk current events, drop F-bombs. It's kind of our whole prerogative.
Well, one of our setbacks was we could never talk about current events, interest rates. We kind of had to have this interim of 5 months of saying something that would ring true per the times, and now we can actually talk about current events.
Yeah, we had a delay in production, but I think we've got past that hurdle, and now we're happy to bring you the timely truths about our real estate market. Grant, dude, what have you been up to, man? What's the latest?
Man, I upon leaving our last show, I had basically a semi-tire fly through my front end on the way home, and that was a debacle, getting insurance and turning around, finding the guy. The guy was pretty upset that, he's like, hey, this is not my fault. I'm like, well, it was your tire that flew off and, basically creamed the front end of my car. And he's like, yeah, but, that's what tires do. And I'm like, I need your insurance. So it almost turned into another Albuquerque confrontation. But,
what is it? Final Destination? What was the movie where the tires and the stuff keeps flying through people's windshields and there's lights out? No? Did I just date myself? I don't know. Final Destination. My sister Tess watched it. Tess, shout out California, tuned in live.
The other person watches obsolete movies. I guess Con Air. Also a Con Air fan, probably. So what happened in Con Air? Let's talk about how I've had a recent issue with my Pomeranian gaining weight. And getting
it looks like holding her breath too.
Yeah.
Just like
So this is the deterrent for Akula. I have bought this stuffed animal to show Akula what she's going to look like in the future. So I don't know if that's a good parenting technique. It is a little bit of shaming, but it's for her health. And there she is. She actually is a little bit fatter than that. Now that's her glamour shots and her real estate picture. But she doesn't look like that now, and I'm getting kind of concerned. So there's a different approaches. I'm doing the vanity approach, which I was raised on.
Shout out Kim Ju for this shot.
Yeah.
Great, dude. All right, so Pomeranian on the treadmill. That's cool.
Yeah. What about what was your weekend?
I've been working.
An open house.
I've been working, man. Business has been going busy right now recently, and despite the rise in interest rates, what we're seeing is properties. The amount of homes that are on the market right now is down like 21% from this time last year, which is a crazy stat to think about because we were so low last year. Here's the main difference. Interest rates last year were at 3 or 4%, and now we're seeing them at like a 6 and 7%.
Yeah.
So pop quiz time, Grant, what percentage of homeowners currently have an interest rate lower than where rates are today?
What?
40, 50%? What do you think? 60%? 99% is the right answer.
Wow.
99% of homeowners have an interest rate lower than where we are today. And here's the kicker. 67% of those people have an interest rate lower than 4.
And here's where this poses a problem. I think that people inherently will benchmark and basically state that the rates that ought to be are the ones that they have. And people conveniently remember lowest price, lowest rates. So they say, hey, Grant, why are rates so high? And which is an impossible question to answer. The reason why gold can be up or down, it's almost like a commodity per the times. That's what they are. So I would like everyone to forget that 3% is the way it ought to be, because that is the best it's ever been. I think we need to get real and know that times adjust, prices adjust, and rates adjust. So, and it's something that we were alluding to last segment or last episode was when interest rates are higher, that means less competition. If you can just cinch up the belt, go for the house you like, we could refinance you later on. But the house prices are not going to fall on their face like everyone thinks. There's just a limited inventory, and it's a supply and demand. We're not in the 2008, 2009 era. We are facing low inventory in Albuquerque, who's extremely insulated from other cities, that we're not going to fall on our face because we haven't had extreme rises in prices. And I don't want to step on your toes about that, but I think that everyone's waiting for prices to come down. It's just not going to happen.
It's a good point. What we are seeing is because of those high interest rates, sellers are going, well, I've got a 3%. I'm not going to sell right now and get into a 7%. So fewer people putting their home on the market means that when homes do come on the market, inventory is so low. We had an open house with double-digit guests coming through, which is not something you're used to seeing.
Yeah, his open houses are really successful. I'm not just pumping his tires because I like to roast him. But he had about 20, 25 people come in there, and it was remarkable. And in this house, what was it priced at?
Yeah, $434. So it's right in the sweet spot for the Northeast Heights.
Yeah. So you had the swimming pool and such, but there was so much action and so many people were like really inquiring about it. Not just what we call tire kickers. They were kind of serious about moving into something like that, which kind of surprises me from being in the market in Albuquerque for so long. How many viable buyers there are in that price bracket.
Yeah. No, it's great. So a great episode. Here's why you're going to want to stay tuned. Giovanni Martinez from the Copper Lounge.
Yeah.
Great story.
Los Conejos, the new addition. Yeah.
Yeah, moved out from California with this guy all day.
He's a Dodger boy.
But either way, we're going to hear from him, his story and why he chose Albuquerque. Great. Do you want to touch any more on a mortgage minute?
Yeah. So I guess I think everything's predicated on these credit reports, and I'm going to jump right into a mortgage minute here. So a lot of people ask me, hey, Grant, how many credit pulls are you allowed? Are you going to do a soft pull? Are you going to do a hard pull? I'll give you the answer to that. When mortgages or mortgage companies would like a credit with a hard pull, meaning they're going to see payment history. They're going to see when you open up these accounts. People say, well, will that bring my credit score down if you pull my credit? Experian has put out an article, which is pretty fuzzy. It says you have 45 days. TransUnion put out an article that says you have 15 days. I would go with TransUnion. You have about 15 days, and I think you get a max of 6 credit pulls. Why do credit pulls matter? It's because it would make credit scores apprehensive to see that you're trying to find out how many times you can extend your credit and lines of credit. So if you do it about maybe 5 or 6 times, that's probably your cap in about 15 days. Anything over that, your scores will go down. So you don't have 30 days to shop. I actually am a big advocate for people to shop. That's why you'll love my rates even more the more you shop. But you don't get an unlimited amount of inquiries. Your score does drop. I would say a 15-day cap, and anything after that, stop shopping. You kind of figure out what you need to know. But that concludes our mortgage minute on credit inquiries.
Dude, good info, man. You always have a lot of info, what goes on behind the scenes in the mortgage game, and we always appreciate that. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Giovanni Martinez of the Copper Lounge. He's going to give us the rundown on what to expect this year as they work on an expansion of the restaurant. But also, stay tuned to the end of the show as we're going to jump into Skip's tips, 3 ways that you can lose money investing in real estate. So you're going to want to stay tuned. This is our live episode. ABQ. Welcome back to UABQ Live. Dude, it feels so great to be live. I feel alive. In this segment, we're meeting with Giovanni Martinez of the Copper Lounge. Going to talk about some mezcal. If you're not on the mezcal train, you got to jump on it because it's kind of.
Well, I mean, there's several phases, I think, of drinking within the, I would say probably, I'll just speak to males. There is the Four Locos and $7 and Smirnoff vodka and melting the plastic that it's housed in. And then you get to, there's some better ways to burn your throat. And then you get to, I think, mezcal, you go, this actually tastes good. I think I don't need to down 7 of them after my beer pong game.
So let's welcome Giovanni Martinez, dude. Thanks for coming by. LA transplant. So born and raised in LA. Talk about LA, man. Growing up
the
there.
olden days.
Yeah.
LA's great. LA's, I mean, it'll always be home. Everyone, it's kind of like your first love, right? Wherever you grew up, it'll always be home no matter what. Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I grew up in 2 very, very different parts of LA, so I got to see both sides of things, you know. South Central in the 80s, and then the suburbs like shortly after. So, you know, both sides of the LA coin. No, I mean, I loved it. It was great. It helped me start my career. It was where I kind of, you know, where I grew up. My mother's still out there. My brother's still out there. So, yeah, it's home.
Yeah,
It'll
always
be home.
taking trips out there, I think, is a blast, too. For me, what I found is, you know, California in general, as you get older, fun place to visit, but it can be a challenge living there. Unless you're, this is what I would say, is unless you're a millionaire living on the beach, like, you miss out on a lot of the benefits because you're sitting in traffic all day, you're paying up.
Yeah, it's so especially Los Angeles and San Francisco, right? Those are the 2 cities where I feel the city doesn't come to you. If you're not the type of person that's going to move to that place and go out and look for the things you like, look for the things you want, look for the neighborhood you want to live in, I mean, it is all there, but it's not just going to hand itself over to you. Lots of people do move out there, and they don't know what's happening, and they don't know the score, and it takes not long before they're like, I don't like it, this is scary. And that's fine. I mean, plenty of people have moved there over the last 100 years. They're fine.
Yeah,
They're doing okay.
I don't think there's too much travel and tourism where they go, hey, you know, come to LA. It seems to be like you found it on your own. Let me tell you, I don't know if you knew this, I used to spend a little bit of time in Bell Gardens.
Really?
Yeah. I had a buddy.
Downey. I went to high school in Downey.
Yeah,
So
right there, right next door, right? Downey was considered a little upper echelon of that.
Downey is called Mexican Beverly Hills.
Yeah, so I spent some time in there, and so that's my street cred.
Bell Gardens is interesting because they do it just shows that like community programs really work. Like they built a giant like aquatic center one year, like in '92, and within like 10 years, half of the women's like Olympic water polo team was from Bell Gardens.
That
it's
is
like
something
put
else.
Put something in a community that wants it and let it serve the community, and it gives back. It starts coming back. All these girls started getting like water polo, like scholarships to go to college. You know, people just need an opportunity.
That was kind of the, you know, it's not to jump subjects, but that was kind of what we wanted to do for Santa Fe and the ice rink is say, like, let's create some hockey players out of nowhere and introduce them. And they're trying to actually take that rink away from some soccer nonsense, which is fine. I'm not saying soccer's nonsense, but it doesn't need to take place in that rink. But anyways, I love to see stuff like that flourish.
It's like, you know, they say, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Like, you can produce great things in your community if the community just gets together and invests in it.
Okay, so you had met your not then wife Jo, and then she was in LA. So this I'm maybe paving the way how you made it to Albuquerque.
So Jo, my wife Joanna, she went to LA for college. She went to USC. We met much after that. But yeah, we met, and she was an actor. She was doing her thing out there, and my career kind of took some turns, some real estate stuff in LA. All of a sudden, the whole block is sold out from under you. So we had to close down the restaurant we were both running together, and I was a global brand ambassador for a spirits brand, and it got to the point where they told me, hey, we don't really need you in California. We would love to have you in emerging markets. Let's send you to China. And I was like, if I was like 23, you know what I mean? And I said, yeah, I'll do 3 years in Hong Kong. That sounds cool. That sounds rad. But I wasn't 23 anymore, and Jo was coming back home so much for a lot of acting gigs. So they're filming so many things out here in New Mexico.
So I'm sorry. So Jo, just to jump in, Jo grew up in Albuquerque. She went to Sandia Prep.
Sandia Prep, and
ended
then
up to
USC.
SC, and that's where you guys met, fell in love.
Yeah, we met after that. Yeah, because I'm older, and I don't think I met her when she was like 19. She moved back out because we decided to come here. Like I had a few job opportunities, and they're like, we could use you. A buddy of mine was like, hey, we could use you in Edinburgh. And other friends like, hey, we could always use you in London again. And they go, oh, we could go to China. And then I was like, Albuquerque.
Yeah.
And at first it was a huge risk. I remember telling Joe, because Joe was coming out a lot for acting gigs anyways. She was a local hire already, so it's like, you know, I can always go. I can't act in China. I can always go to Albuquerque. And I foolishly at the time thought, well, I could do my job anywhere, babe, so I don't care. You know, I was a beverage director for a restaurant, you know, cocktail bar. It's like I could do my job anywhere. Then I got to Albuquerque and I was like, oh, I can't do my job anywhere. Cocktail bars aren't really as big a thing here yet. Like there was maybe 2 or 3 in the state.
Well, what I think is interesting about your story is, just to speak to that, is that you come out to Albuquerque with this, you know, LA mindset of, you know, the future of cocktails and drinks and where the industry is going. And then, you know, coming out to Albuquerque is like a sleepy big city. Like we're kind of in our own bubble. We're not very traveled. We like our culture here.
Yeah.
And so you had the forethought to kind of bring some swag out from LA and introduce us to some new flavors and styles.
Yeah, you know, I was really lucky in my career. I worked a lot of like emerging markets. Some of them which are surprising, right? Like people don't think like Paris is an emerging market, but when it comes to cocktails, they were so stuck in that wine world for so long, they were late to the game. And I got to see a lot of and help with a lot of bar programs starting to do the thing where like no one does cocktails yet. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Should we not do it? And I got to see a lot of people just, you know, you get some passionate people behind some stuff and you can really make magic happen. And when moving out here, finding out that there wasn't really a big scene yet, that's kind of how I felt. I was like, all right, well, you know, I've watched a lot of other people do it. I've helped a lot of other people do it. It's time to do it ourselves. I wanted to skip that first phase of cocktails where it's just a pretentious bartender telling you that he's better than you and he knows what to drink and you're
He's got
an idiot.
suspenders on, yeah. You gotta listen to him.
When I met with our partners known as Copper Lounge, like that was one of the first things I said was, first thing I'm going to do is I want Albuquerque to skip that stage and go straight to, let's have a fun bar that also has good drinks. It doesn't have to be a cocktail church where everyone has to hush and be quiet and be like, oh, my precious drink, you know? It can be like, here's a good drink. Also, let's have fun. The music's loud. Have fun with your friends. Talk. Have a laugh. Let's hang out. Like, you know, Albuquerque, I feel, was only going to accept really cool, different drinks that way.
I think that you were a great liaison. I think that we talked before the show about the incessant attitude and proclamation that will never work here.
Oh, yeah.
We can't do that here. The drinks will be too expensive. People are used to this, and it takes some yes people to go, let me try this. Let me show you that there is a need, because there's a hidden majority that's not saying these words.
Oh, yeah.
But there's the naysayers are always the loudest, and I kind of like that. When I first saw the menu that Tom and Cindy brought out, I go, I know nothing about these drinks, but they look so inviting, and there's a craft aspect to the bartending that is happening at Copper that wasn't done in Albuquerque. You had pre-mixed, like bowling alley juice with this Dr. Peppers, and that's what we got used to. And you go, well, it doesn't have to be like that. And other people from other cities, when I had a drink one time, and every time I say, you can find that at Copper, plus probably 10 other ones that are better.
No, and that's a cool thing, right? Like I remember hearing, I knew there was a market. Well, I know there's always a market for like, if you're really passionate about something and you care about what you're producing, eventually the people will find you. People love passion. People love the story. People love there to be energy behind what they're getting. But I think when I first moved here, there was loads of people that were like, oh yeah, I wish there was a cool bar. You know, we went on a vacation. We went to LA. We went to San Diego. We went to Denver. We went to Phoenix. We went to wherever they went. And they talk about a cool bar. I'm like, well, then why don't we have one here? And like you said, when I first moved here, I remember one of the spooky things when I'm like, I need to hire some people. And a friend told me, well, it's going to be hard. I said, why? I said, well, you know, New Mexico's 2 biggest exports. You know what they are? And I said, what? And he said, Chili's and college graduates. And I'm like, what? And he goes, he said, we have a thing here. We have a little bit of a culture where they're like, oh, if you really want to be good, leave. And I was like, no way. Like, that can't be. Like, there are people... Like, let's keep those people home. Like, let's build something here. Like, we could build some really great things out here, you know? We talked a little bit where I was from, LA. Obviously, I wasn't live then, but I remember reading all these old books and watching these old movies where, like, the reason why LA blew up in the teens and 20s is because people were like, hey, there's no more rules out here. Like, there's not the old shackles of, like, New York and Chicago. Like, we can do something new. We could do our own thing. And that's really exciting about Albuquerque. It's like you're at the beginning, not the beginning, but you're at the start of kind of a new stage for Albuquerque, where it's more open to new ideas, to new projects, and I think people are more attuned to letting that be in their own backyard than ever before.
Well, I think you've been on the forefront of that, and we always appreciate it. I think you are kind of like, everything that is UABQ, aside from, not being born and raised here, but the transplant aspect. Talk a little bit about the differences between, what do you like about the size of Albuquerque and the climate, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I do love Albuquerque. Obviously, I love the climate. I love, ironically, people don't think of big cities as like outdoor cities, but as far as big cities go, LA was a pretty outdoor city. I remember we lived right below the mountain. We'd go hiking every day up to Griffith Park. Like, it's a different type of thing because you're in the middle of this metropolis, but I liked having that bit of both. And even though you don't have a beach here, I love that you can go anywhere. I tried skiing, tried snowboarding.
Do we have footage of that? Can we?
No,
No,
unfortunately, sometimes you get to an age where it's too old to learn new things.
Yeah, I agree. Snowboarding, you don't want to learn what it's like to fall with 200-something pounds. Like, that's what 5-year-olds do. I agree with you right there.
Yeah, at a certain point, you're like, why am I so sore? My arms are sore. Why are your arms? Because I picked myself up the ground 300
Why is
times.
this sport so miserable when everyone's doing
Everyone's having such a good time.
Well, well, I learned when I was 14. I go, then why do you have me out here?
Yeah.
It's a
But
learning
I
curve.
was very happy to sit down there with a little spiked hot chocolate, letting everyone else have a good time. I'm there for the après-ski for sure. I'm there for the dinner. I'm there to go to a spa or hang out afterwards, or some hot springs or something like that. I'm there for all of it.
Right.
And it's great to have that like right at your doorstep, but also have a little bit of the trappings of the city. And people ask me, and I'm not saying anything negative about Santa Fe. People often ask me, "Oh, why didn't you move to Santa Fe?" I'm like, I grew up in South Central LA. I need a little more real.
Yeah.
I need a little more grit. I need something a little less.
Aspen, Vale. I need a little bit. It's
Like
New
Albuquerque, you
Mexico's
have
Vale.
to give it to Albuquerque, positive or negative. It's always genuine. You always know what you're getting. It's not manufactured. It's not like, how can we put on the best face? It's more like, we're going to be us, and you're going to take it or you're going to leave it.
Oh, it's genuine as here, right?
Yep,
you know what I mean? And
absolutely.
that's, I could see that lending itself from LA to here. I think you got along well. And people here can't be, I don't think you can be schmoozed or there's no salesman technique here. I think people go, that's my guy, or it's not, and you can't finagle or bamboozle them into liking you. The people go, no, you're not working.
It takes a second, right? I mean, it's not exactly like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a city where it's really hard. It's not exactly Moscow, but it does take a second for people to be like, oh, you're from somewhere else?
Yeah.
Then you get to know them and like, oh, okay, we're cool. And then once you're in, you're in. You know what I mean? There's just that initial little like, I moved here, I'm like, I gotta go buy a flannel shirt. And then after that, I was good, I was set.
What I liked about Gio is he immediately went in on me about being a meathead, and I go, fine, that's cool with me. Then instead of being, hi, really nice to meet you, I'm Gio. He's like, oh, what's up with you? You'll be able to fit.
Look at the size of those things.
You'll be able to fit in the booth. And I'm like, all right, he's razzing me. This is my guy. He's a hockey guy.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it was just, I always kind of carried myself that way. I guess the cool thing that people don't realize about LA, or at least natives from LA, like, everywhere you go, everybody explains and talks trash to your city, about your city to you, even though they went like once for a weekend. And you're just used to just going like, yeah, you're right, sucks. And move on with your life. You're like, cool, next. Like, it's not. So I'm used to kind of talking to me like, oh my God, look at the size of this man. Are you all right? Are you
Are you stung by a bee?
I don't think we've got enough food for you, buddy.
You have some insecurities you want to talk to me about?
and then you give me shit, and then we move on.
Yeah, that was excellent. How did you find Tom and Cindy?
Let's talk about Copper Lounge. So Copper Lounge is one of the trendiest spots in Albuquerque. It offers something different that a lot of downtown bars maybe don't have, or bars in the Heights, these typical pubs. Great food, number one, but just the atmosphere. Talk a little bit about the branding and kind of where you guys are headed with the expansion.
I sat down and talked with Tom and Cindy. I met them after, I joke, it was a project. I won't name names. So there was a project out here where I was like, man, I worked in lots of big cities throughout the world, and I moved to a small city to get properly taken care of. And I met with them shortly after, and I remember telling them, after working on a couple of projects out here, listen, here's a couple of things I want to know. I'm not going to be mean, but like, do you guys have the courage to hold on for 2 or 3 years? Because this is brand new. It's not just going to be like day 2, weekend 2. We're going to be packed and everyone's going to get what we're doing. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while for us to educate properly our staff. It's going to take a while for the guests to come in and understand what's happening, to get what we're doing, to there's that period of skepticism. And they told me right at the gate, so yeah, Mike, how much do you need? I'm like, give me 3 solid years. And luckily we nailed it in 2. But like, Give me 3 solid years to get our culture together, get what we're doing, and sell it to the people so they understand what we're doing. And what we did is, like I said, like, yeah, we wanted to make cool drinks that we spent a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of thought was put into it, but we wanted to do it in an environment that was fun. It's not super casual. It's not like sawdust on the floor. You know, I mean, nobody's. You know, it's not like that. It is a nice building with beautiful design. Sydney has a great eye. But we still give it a kind of somewhat kind of casual atmosphere. It's like, yeah, you come to look at, sure, on the weekends especially, you know, you might dress up to come in, but also if you walk in shorts, come on in and grab a beer, sit down, hang out. Like, we're all here to have a good time. We're not here to turn anyone away. We're not here to gatekeep. We're here to welcome you.
Yeah, well, I think because, and here's where I think this, you may appreciate this, because it has such a posh look that people don't feel weird about wearing a suit. But when you start off with a posh look, you can say, well, yeah, we'll take anybody, but we don't ever want to make you feel foolish for dressing up because it does lend itself to that.
Absolutely, and that's a big thing. I still remember, you know, I have friends that I have a friend that I remember we joked about, man, I only ever see you like, it looks like you're going to the gym or you're going to the Oscars. And she was like, yeah, I'm not going to let the world dictate how I want to dress. I want to look good. I want to look good.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do want to go out and look good. And it's kind of the opposite. Like, you don't want to shame people for wanting to look good. Yeah. Where usually in most bars, I don't want to shame people for looking bad. I'm like, no, I don't want to shame people for looking good.
Yeah.
But look however you want to look. I mean, barring, you know, walking in with no shirt, no shoes, you're welcome. Like, we want to have you there. We want to have a good time.
Yeah, part of and I don't want to cannibalize the next episode that we do with Tom and Cindy, but what he was facing too, which I think people need to know about, was Copper Lounge was formerly dive $1.50 beers, AstroTurf on the ground, and a little TV up there where the billiards table was. So you had to fight some of the culture and some of the regulars that were saying, oh, you know, you changed everything, and it had to change because there were too many of those bars. So I think it took a vision and probably mutual faith between you two to let you do your thing, and then going, wow, 2 years, okay, I trust you. So
yeah, but I love a dive bar. I think everyone needs to support their dive bar. Every once in a while, I don't say it out loud, but every once in a while, if you get someone that's like, oh, I'm mad you guys changed it. It was a great dive bar. I'm like, last time I was here, it was a cool dive bar. I'm like, that was 7 years ago.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll be back.
A bar, whether it's a dive bar, whatever it is, if it's a business you love, support it.
Yeah, how come you're just realizing that now?
You can't go once every 7 years, have a 50-cent taco, and think they're going to stay in
business. That's my favorite dive bar. 10 years ago, I parked back. Yeah,
it should be like, that's my favorite dive bar. I try to go at least 2-3 times a month. I tip well, I spend money, and that's how they stay in business.
That's a great.
Well, it's a fantastic restaurant. In fact, Gio, we appreciate you coming in and kind of showing behind the scenes and talking a little bit about it. What I loved about Copper Lounge, and we actually featured it in our reality TV shows taken over Albuquerque. Selling You ABQ, we featured the Copper Lounge, female-owned business, but also just a great place to hang out. And so we shot some footage there, so be sure to stay tuned for the pilot. We're also doing open casting for Selling You ABQ, soldbyskip.com/casting. If you have a great story that you want to tell, be a part of the show, whether you're buying or selling real estate here. But stay tuned to the next segment as we jump into Skip's Tips and wrap it up. This
you wanna be my love? We're back to UABQ. Great segment with Gio. Could have spent about 30 more minutes talking about his life in Copper Lounge, and fascinating guy. So many layers to his onion. But right now, if you want to learn about more onions, how about Skip's Tips? Because this one will make you cry.
Oh my God, what a warm intro. Where am I at? Get on my shoulder. Skip's Tips, anything that saves us time, makes us more money, or allows us to have more fun, whether that's in real estate or real life. And in this Skip's Tips, we're gonna talk about 3 ways that you can lose money investing in real estate. And these are mistakes that most of the times new investors make. The first one is buying the cheap house in a bad location. Don't buy a house just because it's more affordable or cheaper, it's in a bad location. What's gonna happen is when you go to resell it, guess what? You're gonna take the L. Second thing to do is waiting too long in an emerging market to get into the market to invest. So many times people will wait, and then the opportunity's already passed. Best time to buy a house? 20 years ago. Second best time? Right now. And the last thing, of course, is not spending enough time to understand what the costly renovation expenses will be. When you buy the house, go through that inspection report and really budget what it's gonna cost for a new roof, new appliances, because those things will add up and really come back to bite you in the ass. So send this to a friend who needs to hear it and tell them Skip said so. Fucking nailed that shit.
Well, I'm glad that you got the cuss words in for the censors for our channel. We're able to yank it, so we snuck a couple in there. We talked about the 4 things that you should lose money on. Is it taking out all your money on a cash-out loan and playing horse races to double your equity? So we didn't cover that yet.
Horse races are an equitable way to spend your time if you like losing money.
I've got actually a tip on the inside about a couple horse races at the Downs. Is the Downs even a thing anymore?
I think it's called the specials.
Oh, okay. Not the Downs. I don't know if that was an inside joke. I don't get it.
Listen to me. Here's a couple things. First of all, great episode. You can find us live every Wednesday now. We're going to be live on...
First live episode.
Yeah, so tune in.
With a guest I could trust, would not Skip, but Gio. I could trust him.
Yeah, I'm a wild card.
This guy's a real maverick on air.
Boo, boo, boo. Real quick, other than that, Channel 96, you can catch us every Wednesday night, Sunday mornings before you have your coffee.
Wednesday at 7,
Sundays at 9. And then every Wednesday at 12. So I want to thank you guys for tuning into our first live episode. Dude, thanks. Look at all these comments coming in.
Flowing in.
It's just awesome.
Hold
really
on.
blowing us up.
I can't handle these comments.
I can't hold it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for stopping by. This is all about you, ABQ. Live.
You're watching you, ABQ.